This morning, I would actually like to see us not learn something, but do something. What good is something if you learn it and never do it? What good is something if you learn it and never do it? Okay, got a couple people over here. Let's expand this understanding. What good is learning something and never doing it? Nada. Goose egg. Zero. It's worthless. Worthless. And I just want to say, as we talk about God's love and love, if you have no intentions of doing anything about it, it would be better for you to just go ahead and go to your car or connection group or to the coffee area. And all I'm trying to say is, folks, all I want you to do today is I don't want you to just hear, I want you to do. And better than that, it's not just about me, it's about God. Because when you come before God, what you actually do, not what you intended, not what you learned, but what you actually do will be made evident. And it's important to never be satisfied with just listening. With just listening. It is important to actually do something about it. Here's one thing I want you to understand. There is no way that you will really love until you know the one-way Jesus. There's no way that you will really love until you know the one-way Jesus. And let me just illustrate it by this. Who's the person that causes you the most pain in your life? And then add to that you love them. Because that is Jesus.
I get gloomy with the state of the world, I think about the arrivals gate at Heathrow Airport. General opinion's starting to make out that we live in a world of hatred and greed. But I don't see that. Seems to me that love is everywhere. Often it's not particularly dignified or newsworthy, but it's always there. Fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, old friends. When the planes hit the Twin Towers, as far as I know, none of the phone calls from the people on board were messages of hate or revenge. They were all messages of love. If you look for it, I've got a sneaky feeling you'll find that love actually is all around.
And love is the thing that everybody actually needs. As we take a look at this today, I want to remind us of some things. When you do a Google search, when you do a Google search of the word love right now, and if you put the word movie, it's going to bring up the nastiest movie that you've ever seen. As a matter of fact, the images are pornographic because it is actually a pornographic movie. Porno today is the definition of the world's love. That's the world's love. And in that movie called Love, titled Love, it's all about sex, and it's also about inviting your neighbor next door to come over and have sex with you and your whatever. So it's about three-person sex. And that's love. That's love. But that's not actually love, friends. That's not actually love. There's most certainly sex is a part of love between a husband and wife. But for today, everything is defined by eros. It's all by eros. And I want you to understand, the Bible actually talks about, now, erotic, all right? You'll hear this word, you'll see this word, and so on. It's very familiar in our society. In the Bible, there is 3 or 4 words for the word love in the Greek, and eros is one of them. And this love is erotic love. Eros is a love of passion, an overmastering passion that seizes and absorbs itself into the mind. It is a love that is an emotional involvement based on what? Body chemistry. And this is a drugged state. It's not actually truthful. It's just drugged. All right, so if you get drunk, you think you'll act differently than you would otherwise? Huh? I'm sure you'll act better, won't you? Well, some people are nice drunks and some aren't. But the fact is that it's not who you really are, and it's not really what you're all about. And there is so much today of this idea of chemical love. Chemical love. But this is a love that actually loves itself. Because it's all about actually the other person satisfying you. And the Bible says that's not love. The Bible says that that's not love. So through eros, you direct towards another person. Actually, it has itself in mind. For example, I love you because you what? Okay, it's real easy up here. Let's all participate, okay? I love you because of what? Which means that what? When you don't make me happy, I don't love you anymore. That's not love. That's not love. Some of you are sitting here today and you're having a tough time. Some of you because you've chosen to do wrong things. Some of you just, circumstances of life. But I want you to understand something. God loves you no matter what. Did you notice that the sun came up for you today? Did you really notice, actually? Did you actually know that God was loving you? Did you know that God has given you life? That He's given you breath? That He made you a unique person that also shares something very common with Him and all other people? And I want to encourage you to understand that that love never changes. So if you tell God that you don't love Him and you don't even believe in Him, you don't even like Him, does He change? No. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. God does not have erotic love. God does not have erotic love. It's just passionate as long as it's self-gratifying. Self-gratifying. Now, another word, actually in the Bible, is phileo. Phileo is a companionable love. This love speaks of affection, fondness, or liking. It is a love that is called out of one's heart as a response to the pleasure one takes in a person or object. Phileo is a love that responds to kindness, appreciation, or love. It involves giving as well as receiving, but when it is greatly strained, it can collapse in a crisis because it does sort of depend on somewhat the other person returning. The other person returning. But it is still greater than eros because eros is based mostly in self-satisfaction and phileo is based actually in a relationship with someone else. Meaning that person is actually giving you value. Phileo is the same word, Philadelphia. What does Philadelphia mean? City of brotherly love. Where did they get that name? I'm sure Playboy magazine actually developed that city. Huh? No. That came from Christianity, folks. That city's name came from Christianity. They established that city for that very reason. I don't know if anybody been to Philadelphia? Anybody had a Philly steak sandwich? Does that feel like love? I don't know. Some brotherly love there. Okay, but the bottom line is that it's a city that actually by its name purports to actually love. Love, all right? I grew up there in Colorado. We have a town just north of Denver that people this time of year send their letters to, and then they repost them and send them out with the mark from that city. Anybody know what city I'm talking about? Loveland, that's right, Loveland. And they have all kinds of love in Loveland. Love is just full of love. You go there and they'll just love on you all over the place. No, not really. So, what I want you to understand is that what is it that is really love? Phileo is kind of getting there, but it's not quite there. Then we have what the Bible actually says is agape, and agape is God-like love. God-like love. As a matter of fact, without God or the influence of God, there rarely is this love. There rarely is this love. Agape is called out of one's heart by the preciousness of the object loved. It is a love of esteem, of evaluation. It has the idea of prizing. It is the noblest word for love in the Greek language. Agape is not kindled by the merit or worth of its object, but it originates in its own God-given nature. It delights in giving. This love keeps on loving even when the loved one is unresponsive, unkind, unlovable, and unworthy. It is unconditional love. Agape desires only the good of the one loved. It is a consuming passion for the well-being of others. So think about this. Jesus came to his own, and his own would have him not. He came to shine the light, but people love the darkness more than the light. So what did they do with him? This is participation sermon. What did they do with him? Come on, folks, what did he do with him? They bought him a car, got him a house, put him up on a high hill. What did they do with him? They crucified him. They trumped up charges. They beat him. They ridiculed him. They did everything they could. His own disciples, his followers, did what? They denied him. They left him. John was the only one standing there. The rest of them were hiding. And even after he died and was buried, they hid because they were afraid. But what did Jesus say from the cross? Father, what? Forgive them. What? They don't know what they're doing. That's real love. That's real love. I want you to think about this today. There are 505 words love in the Bible. Now, it depends on the translation that you're using. Some will kind of give a variant of the word love and so on, but 505. 500 is kind of the general number of the amount of times the word love appears in the Bible. I want you to understand that the definition of love in the Bible is very different than our personal love. A friend loves at all times, and then it sort of defines this. A brother is born for adversity. Okay? Laugh and the world laughs with you. Cry alone. Why is that? Because it's no fun to hang out with people that are hurting. It's no fun to be with people in adversity. No fun to be with people in their difficult times. I want you to understand, a real love loves at all times. A real love loves at all times. Now, that's going to bring up some questions, of course, okay, because there are some things that people do that are really wrong. And then we question, what does it really mean to love a person? All right? So, let me just think about it like this. Mamas, do your children ever do wrong? Depends on if you're having a good day with them or not, right? Okay. But you know what? A mother's love almost never changes. Now, when a lady really doesn't do like that, we see her as defying the very nature of a woman. Okay? But the fact is that you love those little darlings even when they're hateful. Okay? So you're holding this cute little baby, and the little baby reaches up and smacks you in the face. And the little baby learns this word called no. All right? And it tells you no. You know? And so on and so forth. And what do you keep doing? Come on, folks, what do you keep doing? You love that child. That's exactly right. You love that child. That is love. It never changes. Now, do you approve and withhold discipline to that child, is that called love? Now, when I was growing up, my parents told me that they disciplined me because they loved me. I mean, you don't understand it as a kid, but when you get older, you do, don't you? And parents who do not discipline their children because they want the convenience of not having difficulties with them are not loving their children. And this is not talking about beating or not beating. Okay, beating is not acceptable anytime, and it's not loving. But I want you to understand, love actually does account for right and wrong, but it does it in a loving way. And there is a big difference between you make me mad, you make me angry, you're bad, you're wrong, you hurt me, and I'm going to hurt you, versus what you did is wrong, and I love you, and you need to know this. You need to know this. How you tell people what they've done or what they haven't done is a big difference. But understand this, love loves all the time. And then in Luke chapter 6, but love your enemies. Do good to them. And lend to them without expecting to get any, whoa! There was a time when one of my family members was in a tough spot and they needed some help. And I had grown enough in my faith to know that, I wanted to help. But it's no good to loan people money. Okay? So I just got some other folks, and I said, look, so-and-so needs some help, and I'm going to ask you if you would join with me. This is what I can do, and would you join with me to help? But I want to make sure everybody understands this is not a loan. This is a gift. Okay? Because if we make it a loan, what's going to happen when they don't pay? We're going to get mad, and we're going to hurt the relationship. So this is actually the best way to help people, to give without expectation of return. That's the best way, okay? Now, don't misunderstand me, folks, okay? I know I cannot describe all this all at once, and I can't explain all the nuances that are related here, but I can definitely say to you this. Loving your enemy and giving without expecting return is true love. It is true love. And that's what love is all about. Then your reward will be great. And you will be children of what? Most High. You know why you'll be children of the Most High? Because you'll share the DNA of God. You'll share the DNA of God. When people look at you, they'll say, well, you look like your daddy. Hello. Look, they got their daddy's eyes. You got your daddy's smile. You got your daddy's toes. You see, because why? Because you're sharing the nature of God. Now, there's common grace, okay? Common grace means there's grace that goes to everybody. There are some people that have the love of God, and they don't even know God, but they do love in a way that's like God. But that's only revealing the fact that we all come from a common creator. All right? They also breathe air. All right? That came from their Father also. And I want to encourage you to understand God is our creator. But I want to make sure we, as believers, and I realize not everybody here is necessarily a believer, but we who are gathered here today need to understand the love of God is really only the love of God when it gets nothing in return. That's when you know it's real love. That's when you know it's real love. So, I'm on my way here today, and I'm driving along, and there's a fella, and I thought at first he was waving. And then I realized, no, that wasn't a wave. That was this. Well, I hadn't seen this since the 70s. So I was like, oh, he wants a ride. Okay, so here I am. Here's a Samaritan. And I'm on my way to the temple. Okay? And I'm religious. So I'm busy. And I thought to myself, for a minute, I was like, I'm barely on time. And then I was thinking to myself, How can you say that you're really a follower of Jesus Christ if you're not going to stop and give that guy a ride? So I had to turn around. I had to go back. Then I had to turn around again. And I threw the door open and I said, hop in, man. And I said, did you want to ride? He said, yeah. And where are we going? And he said something, P&B or something like that. Peanut butter jelly. I don't know about that. We're going to peanut butter. All right. Anyway, I took him to a place. And here's the bottom line. Isn't that the way it is for us? Okay? Because I'm not going to get anything in return. Right? Nothing's going to come in return. But that is love. And it's a pleasure to love people. I'm not telling you to pick up strangers on the street. I'm not telling you that. Okay? You have to decide that. I would not tell my daughters to do that. I would not tell my wife to do that. But, you know, there are times when just giving to somebody is loving. Imagine, though, and this would have been the real test, if that was my enemy. Okay? What if that was my enemy? What if I got there and that's the person that's caused me the most pain in my life? That would have been a real test of love. That would have been a real test of love. Remember, we are children of the Most High when we love those who do not love us back. Above all, love each other deeply because love covers a multitude of sins. And I want to encourage us to understand something here. This church needs to be a church of love. And I'm not talking that sloppy stuff that, you know, just everybody pretends like they love each other and so on and so on. I'm talking about real love. Real sacrifice and concern and care and common partnership and actually caring about people. And I think we got a lot of that here at Green Valley. I really do. But I just want to continue to make sure that we stay there. And that the devil does not get in here and cause us to stop loving each other because we deal with one another and we're not perfect and we have problems and we're working on one another. Sometimes we don't actually are nice to each other altogether. But the bottom line is, we got to love one another. And if this church does not love the people in this church, what hope do we have of loving anyone else? And this is where you learn love. You know, I got such a kick out of, you know, when we homeschooled our kids, people would always bring up the issue of socialization. Okay, we call it the S word. And, you know, because they'd be like, and I'll never forget when I lived in Savannah, my neighbor across the street, I guess he heard that we homeschooled. I don't know, you know. We didn't make it a big sign out front, homeschool family. So, anyway, my son Seth was out in the street playing, and this guy comes over across the neighbor across the street, comes over, hey, little boy, come here. Are you homeschooled? Uh-huh. Well, don't you want to have friends? I mean, why don't you go to school? You know. And I mean, you know, we got along with that person great and became, well, we did. I'm not being facetious. We really did. But here's the thing, okay? You want to know where you learn real socialization, where you learn real love? It's in the home. With the people you have to share the bathroom with. Amen? The people you have to share life with. That's where you learn real love.
I understand as this film is being shown around that young people are standing up everywhere for Christ and their faith. Is that right?
That's so true. We've seen it all over the country.
Can you talk a little bit about what's happening in the screening rooms and what's happening when you're screening this actually for high school football teams around the country?
I've never seen anything like it before in my life. It started in Memphis, 40 players came to Christ. It happened in Huntsville and in Arizona. In Texas, over 125 kids, half the room stood and made decisions for Christ.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
I'm asking you to stand up right now and make a decision to change, to forgive, to choose Jesus.
It was amazing the number of kids that professed Christ tonight. Theater was completely dark. They would never turn the lights on. But wow, the light of Christ was shining bright.
And you see the potential for this, that if it's seen around the country, that it will bring people together.
Oh, this little light of mine.
I am a proud Christian because of Christ's message of peace, love, and forgiveness. Those three things will save the world.
I watched it with my family, and the kids were captivated. You're going to see this movie, and it is going to inspire.
I think it was all just divine how we seen that movie. None of us had any idea that it was a Christian film. We just thought it was an inspirational football film.
Take a look around. This is what happens when God shows up.
I'm not gonna let Satan blow it out. No, I'm gonna let it shine. I'm not gonna let
It's undeniable listening to the story of these people who were there. The moment was ready. People were ready. They were open for it. They needed something.
There are some young men and women and some adults in this room who want to take a stand. You want to make that decision for Christ that we saw in the movie. You may be the only one in this room that doesn't. Would you do that right now? Entire teams are making their way. This is better than winning a ball game.
Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
I encourage us today, actually love. Actually love. I want you to know something. It doesn't matter how small you feel in this big world. I'll tell you right now, when you really love, when you show real love, you will make a big difference. You will make a big difference. I'm going to ask you to shut out all the lights, if you would please. Make it dark in here as possible. And baptistry lights. Okay, this is a dark world, isn't it? We're going to let it shine, amen? Come on, stand up and turn on your phone. Come on. Come on. Turn on your phone. Let it shine. This is real. This is real. I want to encourage you, my friends, to let your light shine. I'm going to encourage you this week to show love to a person who does not show you love. As a matter of fact, they might actually show you hate. I'm going to ask you to let your light shine. Let your light shine. You decide who that is as we sing.